The film opens with an American man Mike free climbing a sheer cliff face without a rope. He appears troubled and haunted. After a near-fatal fall, a psychiatrist suggests that Mike's risky behavior is a manifestation of survivor's guilt over his brother Gurti, who died while serving in Iraq. The psychiatrist urges Mike to seek closure, but Mike refuses medication, opting instead to scatter Gurti's ashes on Mount Everest, a lifelong dream of his brother's. Meanwhile, in Nepal, a powerful businessman named Rudrayash attempts to force a local family, the Rais, to sell their ancestral land to build a massive hydroelectric dam. The Rai family patriarch, a man named Raj, speaks out against the dam at a town hall meeting, emphasizing the cultural and spiritual significance of the river. Shortly after, his bus careens off a cliff, killing him. The incident is ruled an accident, but Raj's son Ganesh and grandson Vijay are convinced Rudrayash is responsible and that their lives are now in danger. Mike travels to Nepal with Gurti's ashes in a small urn. He meets Dhani Yangchen, a half-Sherpa half-Malaysian 10-time Everest summiteer who agrees to guide him to base camp. On the bus ride to base camp, they are joined by a colorful cast of characters: an Australian bus driver named Spike, a father and daughter from Connecticut, Evan and Star Myers, and a group of comedians on their way to film a stunt. The bus is suddenly ambushed by a group of armed kidnappers. A fight breaks out and Dhani and Mike manage to subdue the kidnappers, saving the lives of the passengers and a young man the kidnappers had taken hostage. The police, led by a Captain Shankar, arrive on the scene. Mike and Dhani are concerned that the police are working with the kidnappers when they are evasive about the young man's identity and condition, even though he is clearly awake. They discover that the young man's name is Vijay Rai, the grandson of the man who recently died in the mysterious bus crash. It becomes clear that the kidnappers were working for Rudrayash and that the police are complicit. Rudrayash wants to find Ganesh Rai, Vijay's father, and kill the entire family to clear the way for his dam project. Mike, Dhani, Evan, and Spike race to the police station to confront Captain Shankar. They arrive to find Vijay being tortured by Rudrayash's men for the location of his father. A fight ensues. They manage to rescue Vijay but are now on the run from Rudrayash's men and the corrupt police. They decide their only hope is to deliver Vijay to a safe house in the mountains, a place only Dhani knows about. The group travels by foot, crossing treacherous terrain with Rudrayash's men in hot pursuit. The journey becomes a race against time and a test of their endurance. Mike, carrying Gurti's ashes, finds a new sense of purpose and closure in protecting Vijay and seeking justice for his family. He uses his climbing skills to lead the group through dangerous mountain passes, all the while reflecting on his brother's legacy. Dhani, Evan, and Spike use their unique skills and knowledge to outwit their pursuers. Along the way, Mike and Star grow closer, finding solace in each other's company. The group eventually reaches the cabin and reunites Vijay with his father Ganesh. They learn that Ganesh was a close friend of Dhani's late father. They are safe for now, but Rudrayash and his men are not far behind. A final confrontation takes place at the cabin. In a climactic battle, Mike and Dhani fight Rudrayash and his men. Ganesh and Vijay fight to protect their family and their land. The group ultimately defeats Rudrayash, bringing his reign of terror to an end. With justice served and the Rai family safe, Mike finally finds the closure he's been seeking. He scatters Gurti's ashes on a mountaintop, fulfilling his brother's dream and honoring his memory. He realizes that a life of service to others is far more meaningful than a life of self-destruction. The film ends with Mike, Dhani, Evan, and Star returning to Kathmandu, their lives forever changed by the events they've shared. The last scene shows Mike now at peace, smiling as he looks out at the Himalayan mountains. He is a changed man, no longer haunted by the past but looking forward to a future filled with purpose. Mike, Dhani, and Evan confronting Captain Shankar and Rudrayash at the rug factory. Evan Myers, a human rights advocate, attempts to intimidate Rudrayash by claiming he has contacted the U.S. Embassy and that 2 Black Hawk helicopters are on their way. Rudrayash, however, calmly disproves his claim by shooting him in the leg, a brutal act that turns the confrontation into a full-blown gunfight. Mike, Dhani, and the others flee the factory, narrowly escaping in the bus. During their escape, Mike drives the bus away from a pursuing car filled with Rudrayash's men. They manage to outwit them in a thrilling chase, ultimately leaving the pursuers to deal with a damaged vehicle. As the group moves on, they realize the bus is a liability. Mike, who as a mechanic is an expert on high-compression diesel engines, and Dhani decide to continue their journey on foot while the other passengers get off. The resourceful Mike and Dhani manage to adapt the bus's equipment to continue their journey by using a winch system to cross a treacherous icy hairpin turn called the Road to the Sky. They eventually make it to Vijay's father's cabin, only to find the cabin's neighbor murdered by Rudrayash's men. They manage to reunite with Vijay's father Ganesh, who is still alive and has been hiding in the mountains. He explains that he and Vijay had a secret emoji code in their messages that allowed him to realize that Rudrayash was impersonating his son. Rudrayash's men are not far behind, so they must move quickly. The group decides to use the bus and a large old crane to get across a deep gorge. However, as they're preparing to move, Rudrayash's men arrive. In a desperate attempt to create a diversion and allow the others to escape, Ganesh sacrifices himself by getting on the crane and distracting Rudrayash's men. Rudrayash's men kill Ganesh, but not before he manages to get the others to safety. In a climactic final battle, Mike, Dhani, and Star fight Rudrayash and his remaining men. They defeat them one by one, with each person using their unique skills. Mike with his experience as a mechanic outsmarts them in a thrilling chase, while Dhani with her martial arts skills takes on a skilled assassin. Star, who was recently taught to fight by Dhani, bravely takes on and defeats one of the men. Rudrayash, the last man standing, is killed when Mike rams him with the bus, causing him to fall off a cliff. With Rudrayash and his men defeated, Vijay and his family are finally safe. He and the others are able to build a new smaller dam that satisfies the needs of the community and also respects the sacred river. Mike, having fulfilled his promise to his brother and found a new purpose in life, scatters Gurdi's ashes on a mountaintop. He, Dhani, Evan and Star say their goodbyes at the airport, forever changed by their harrowing ordeal and the bonds they forged. The film ends with a flashback to Mike and Gurdi, revealing that Gurdi's last words to his brother were, "Life is for the living." The film ends with Mike, a man once haunted by his past, finally at peace and ready to live his life to the fullest. Mike's journey of healing and self-discovery intertwines with the perilous ordeal of the Rai family. The story opens with a glimpse into Mike's tormented psyche as a psychiatrist links his dangerous free climbing to the profound survivor's guilt he feels over his brother Gurdi's death in Iraq. Mike, rejecting conventional therapy, clings to his brother's final wish, to have his ashes scattered on Mount Everest. This seemingly simple act of tribute becomes a fated mission, pulling him into a complex conflict in Nepal. In Nepal, the film introduces Rudrayash, a powerful and ruthless businessman whose ambition to build a massive dam threatens to displace a local community and sever the Rai family from their ancestral lands. The patriarch Raj Rai stands as the voice of resistance, defending his people's cultural and spiritual ties to the river. His sudden death in a suspicious bus accident ignites a chain of events that exposes the depth of Rudrayash's corruption and his willingness to use violence and coercion to get what he wants. Mike's arrival in Kathmandu with Gurdi's ashes marks the beginning of his unplanned entanglement. He meets Dhani Yangchen, a knowledgeable and resilient guide who embodies the strength of her Sherpa and Malaysian heritage. Their bus journey to Everest base camp is quickly derailed by a kidnapping attempt led by Rudrayash's men. The ensuing chaos reveals Mike's hidden skills and his instinct to protect others, a stark contrast to his earlier self-destructive tendencies. Alongside Dhani, a resourceful bus driver named Spike, and a determined father and daughter Evan and Star Myers, Mike manages to fight off the attackers and save a young boy Vijay, who is the grandson of the deceased Raj Rai. This act of heroism thrusts them all into a high-stakes conflict. They soon discover that the local police, led by Captain Shankar, are in Rudrayash's pocket. After rescuing Vijay from a brutal interrogation at the police station, the group becomes a target. Their fight for survival transforms into a quest for justice. The journey that follows is a relentless pursuit through the treacherous Himalayan landscape, with Mike's experience as a mechanic proving to be an invaluable asset. He ingeniously modifies the bus to navigate impossible terrain, using winches and other tools to cross a daunting icy pass. Their resolve is tested at every turn. They make a temporary stop at a cabin where they reunite Vijay with his father Ganesh Rai. However, this reunion is short-lived as Rudrayash's forces close in. In a heartbreaking act of self-sacrifice, Ganesh distracts the attackers, allowing the others to escape in the bus using a perilous crane operation over a deep gorge. This sacrifice fuels their determination to see the mission through. The final confrontation is a brutal battle where each person's courage is pushed to its limits. Dhani's disciplined fighting, Star's newfound bravery, and Mike's tactical ingenuity culminate in a final showdown that ends Rudrayash's reign of terror. With the threat eliminated, the Rai family can finally move forward. Vijay, now a leader, advocates for a new sustainable dam project that respects both the land and the community's needs. Mike, no longer defined by his grief, finds peace by scattering Gurdi's ashes on a mountaintop, a poignant and symbolic act of letting go. The film concludes with Mike, Dhani and Star parting ways at the airport, forever bonded by their shared journey. The final scene, a flashback to Mike and Gurdi, delivers the powerful message that life is for the living, a truth Mike has finally embraced. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.